What's up, everybody? Joe White here, and I just got out of the theater. That's right, I'm over here in Pendleton, Oregon, and there's a casino over here. Right as you come out of the mountains down into the valley, um, they have a travel center, but they also behind it have a huge casino slash hotel, and inside the casino they have a movie theater. So I decided I wanted to go see Civil War. That's right. The whole if Trump wins, there'll be civil war in the country thing. Oh, we are going to shock you by calling our movie Civil War. Let me level with you guys. The movie starts by this is not what you think it is. It's a totally misleading um, marketing campaign. And I think it's smart of A24 to do it because this movie should not have been called Civil War. You don't know what states are fighting for who. The only states you know of is that California and Texas, of all people, are aligned together in what they call the Western Alliance. Explain that to me. Texas and California. The two couldn't be more opposite in their political beliefs, but they're aligned somehow. And but hey, it's a movie. It's not meant to be real, I guess. And in their world, Californians and Texans, they're good people. so, um, anyway, the movie doesn't tell you why the war is broken out. You get a hint because the president is serving a third term and is trying to be a dictator. I guess that's why they don't tell you why the war. I mean, they don't. I'm going to try really hard not to spoil things, but they don't tell you why the war broke out. They don't tell you who's aligned with who, what's aligned with what. This movie should have been called Call of Duty Press Pass because you're literally following Kirsten Dunst plays a member of the press who is running around from battle to battle in the Civil War and is um, filming the war. She's photographing the war along with a Reuters reporter named Joel. And then they're in New York and they meet up with another guy who's a journalist. Um, he is played by, let me see if I could get who plays him because he actually was really good. He's a really good part of the movie. Um, Let me see here. It's Stephen McKinley Henderson. Um, Juilliard trained actor and received nominations for two Tony Awards, a Drama Desk Award, and two Screen Actor Guilds Award. He's one of the 32 greatest character actors working today, and he's 74 years old. Um, he is the star of this movie, as far as I'm concerned. He plays a very small role, but he deserves a nomination for Best Supporting Actor based on this movie. I'll just say that. His performance is great. Um, he's played in movies such as Lady Bird, Lincoln, Dune, Beau is Afraid. Let's see, what else has he played in? Man, he went from 1985 to 2004 without a part. Good Lord. But anyway, so you're basically following journalists around as they go from battle zone to battle zone covering the war. And they're trying to get to from New York City to um, Washington, D.C., because the male journalist Joel wants to ask the president some tough questions because he actually thinks he could get into the White House and ask the president tough questions. Along the way in New York, very early on in the movie, they pick up a girl, a teenager named Jessie Cullen, and she's played by Callie Spaney, who was Bad Times at the El Royale, On the Base of Success, Vice. Um, she's done The Craft Legacy. She is just she plays the role of Ellie from The Last of Us. That's how she plays this role. Really, it's so predictable, and it's so like there's nothing to her performance whatsoever that you have not seen in a video game. In this movie, literally, at times during this movie, it looks like you're watching a playthrough of Call of Duty. It really does, and it's just not. It's not believable. Really, it's just not believable. The Civil War aspect of it really is not believable because somehow Florida and Texas, along with everybody else, have gotten military grade weapons. Guys, let me break it to you. If a civil war were to break out in this country, the U.S. military, who and those who are bound to serve it, would pull all their shit as far away from civilians as they can. Civilians would not have access to military grade equipment like that, like Humvees and helicopters that can fly Humvees and drop them into war zones. And no, no, the part in the trailer where it talks about, what kind of American are you, where they're in some Virginia, West Virginia, and the redheaded idiot is there with his AR. That is the most suspenseful part of the movie because you're sitting there going, okay, we've been here with the trailers. What's going to happen? And that part of the movie, it's the best part of the movie. It's maybe a 10-minute sequence and it doesn't disappoint. But after that, the movie just goes completely downhill. It has a very anticlimactic finish to it. Um, a very predictable finish because let's just say that something happens and you're just like, oh, kind of figured that was going to happen because they give it away. They literally have her, Kirsten Dunst, play it that way in the last 10 minutes of the movie. Like, oh, we know exactly what's going to happen to her. It's so predictable. Um, I guess this movie goes for the shock of how does the country break down into chaos when it's ungoverned and we go back to living like complete Neanderthals with guns? And it's shock for the sake of shock. There is an Antifa mention in there, which was freaking stupid. To try to, it's like it's just stupid. This movie is downright stupid at the end of the day. I wanted halfway through the movie, right after the segment where the trailer thing happens, where he goes, "What kind of American are you?" and that whole sequence plays out. I wanted to get up and walk out of the theater. Kirsten Dunst is not believable in this role. Ever since she did Interview with a Vampire, I've liked Kirsten Dunst. She's a phenomenal actress. Spider-Man, Jumanji. It just she is not suited to play this type of role. The first thing that I looked at when I saw Kirsten Dunst is she's 41 years old, but yet in this movie they make her look like she's about 48 to 50. She looks very old in this movie. And I know maybe it's designed to make her look worn, torn, and oh, the job is making her look old and everything. But she does not play this character well. She's the wrong actress for this main role. I didn't believe her for a second. I really did not believe that she was that worn, torn. I just thought, oh, they made her up to look old, 10 years older than what she is. The little girl, her character is just so predictable, so predictable. As they go on, and I'll give the actress credit, she plays it well. The guy who tags along with them, he's a Brazilian actor, Wagner Moura. His character, you can't believe his character half the time. Because at one moment, he's like, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get a quote from the president and I'm going to figure out how he could let this all happen. And why is he serving a third term? He says that. But then you turn around and he's got a vodka bottle in his hand and a joint in the other, one hand and a joint in the other, and he's half drunk and high. You can't take his character seriously at all. And especially when the big climatic thing happens at the end, he just goes on about his business like nothing's happened. I don't buy the relationship with these characters. I don't buy the performance by Kirsten Dunst. There is a story there. I'm not going to lie. The movie does have a plot, but it really does not pick up until the last act of the movie. The last 30 minutes of the movie, you're like, okay, yeah, we're going to get somewhere now. And then it just, poof, it ends. Very anticlimactic. It's just, this movie for me, A24, You should have called this movie Press Pass. Is exactly what you should have called it. There's no semblance of it's a totally misleading marketing campaign. If you're going in there to find out, okay, what would happen if we really got into a civil war? What's their take on it? You're going to be sorely disappointed. You're not going to see North versus South, and this person succeeded from the Union, and this person. There's mentions of it, but we don't know why. We don't know how. How could we? That's the main thing you have burning in your head. You think that while we're riding in the car with these journalists, they could give us a little backstory. Hey, we're riding in a car and they give us updates. This many miles to DC, this many miles to DC, that many miles to DC. You figure on their long car trips where they're passing what looks like the zombie apocalypse on the interstate. There's just cars everywhere. They have to bartle for gas at one point, and they're using Canadian money. Why? We don't know. Why is Canadian money so much better than American money all of a sudden? Why are gas prices still the same as they are today? We don't. There's so many plot holes here. Why is there again? Why is there a civil war? What states seceded from the Union? Who's aligned with who? We don't know. And the movie does a very bad job of telling you what it does want to tell you. Overall, my review of Civil War is do not go to the theaters to watch this. I left the theater very disappointed. I expected more of a plot than this. I expected a little bit more meaning behind it. This is shock for the sake of shock. It's like you're watching Call of Duty on the movie. It really is. Like if you were to create a Call of Duty game and your job was to be the press in the war zone. Literally, the last 30 minutes of this movie just feels like you're watching a playthrough of Call of Duty on Twitch. It really does. I was sorely disappointed. Out of 5 stars, two. Two. It's not for children. It's definitely not for children. Um, you see somebody getting buried alive or burned alive at one point. They put a tire around this guy and trap him in a damn Michelin tire, douse him in gasoline and set him on fire, and they make it a slow motion shot just to shock you. Ooh. And then we got to have the teenager. She's never really seen death before, so she's got to puke her guts out. Ooh. This is nothing that we haven't seen before. It's a big fat nothing burger. Wait for it to come out on Amazon or whatever. This is probably, in my opinion, A24's first dud. The Iron Claw was way better than this. Every other movie that they've done since then has been good. Um, yeah, just honestly, you could probably skip this one. We'll see you down the road.